call it that. All right, so the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, through funding from the Heart Trust NTA, recently presented its report, quote, Outside In, Increasing Participation in the Labour Force. That's what it was called. So we invited in lead researcher and UWI lecturer, Dr. Kellyanne Dixon-Hamill, to discuss the findings with us this morning, and she's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning.
Okay, so give us the high level. You went in to find what?
So we went in to find who was outside the labor force and what they're doing. Why are they there? Can we bring them in? What we found is most people don't actually want to be in.
No way.
The labor force.
So there are 52% who are outside the labor force and say they don't need to work. Or they don't want to work.
In Jamaica?
When they say they don't need to work, like there are lots of winners?
So, well, based on the statistics with a lot of winners, I figure not.
No.
But clearly they are finding some way of surviving. So those we can't bring in.
So you didn't ask them, you didn't drill down?
So here's where it is. Our data came from the Satin Labor Force Survey. So that drilling down we weren't able to get to. However, from the survey, there was about 4% who wanted to work but couldn't because they had care responsibilities. So what do we mean by that? They were taking care of children, you know, like taking them to school, making sure they have meals, making sure they have clean clothes, taking care of the elderly or disabled, whether it was a family member or a friend.
You're the caregiver.
Right.
Is that work? That's still, you know, but
it's our work.
Yeah.
It's just unpaid work.
So, okay, let's look at the high level now. Globally, in terms of trends, we are bucking the trends, like,
yes,
right?
We've changed the trend because globally, the labor force is decreasing.
Right.
But in Jamaica, we've been increasing.
Clarify that for me, Doc. When you say our labor force is increasing, you mean just by volume of people?
No, by percentage of those who are eligible for the labor force.
Oh.
So we've moved over the last 12 years from about 62% to 65%. Globally, we've been decreasing over the past 2 decades.
Oh.
So we've changed.
And why is that? Because people are living longer? Or?
It may be that people are living longer, and so there could be a greater percentage outside, because how the labor force is measured is anybody, well, it was changed recently to 15 plus, but it was anybody 14 plus. So if you think about it, somebody who's 90 or 100 or 102 is still considered part of that eligible pool, that there's no cutoff. So potentially we could be living longer, and so that group is increasing.
It's included in the labor force.
Right.
But the part that's still shocking me is that it's an increased labor force, but over half of it don't want to work.
Don't want to work.
Want to. Are they entrepreneurs?
No, so if you're an entrepreneur,
You're classified as working.
You're classified as being employed. If it is either the informal or the formal sector, that too is classified as being employed. So
how do they live, Doc?
This is what we want to know. So we're saying that we need to do further studies in this to really figure out how they are living. Yes.
May I have a few?
Hey.
No, I wasn't going to go there. I'm just thinking, years from now, when the ramifications of that become real to them, were you able to identify within the labor force age as well as gender?
So yes, we were able to pick that out. So for example, those with care responsibilities, as we would all expect, 96% of them are women. And in those outside the labor force, women are overrepresented, but in the group that doesn't need to work, young males are the ones who are mainly in that group.
Say that again, Doc.
Young males.
Young males, and them are on
Those under 26 are mainly in the group that don't want to work or don't need to work, because it's either don't want to or don't need to. So,
but because the women are working.
This may be a possibility.
No, well, that's one.
I
mean, what inferences do you take from? Because that's one plausible inference that she's drawn.
That is.
What others?
It's interesting also because when we looked at those who were in school, there was a higher percentage of men who were in school and outside the labor force. However, when we look at, let's say, tertiary education, there's a higher percentage of women. So I'm taking from that probably the women are working while being in school and the men are not working and just solely focusing on
school.
So it's some interesting information that we were able to uncover.
So what are the implications? Because there's a question. What's the question you asked, Doc, before we started? If we had people in the areas,
in the
critical areas,
and you said,
so based on a previous CAPRI report, growth-less jobs, it would seem as if we're not necessarily having persons in jobs that will cause us to, as in the economy, etc., to be able to grow as we would hope. We didn't focus on that in this study. We really just focused on those who were outside the labor force. And we did start digging down further into those with the care responsibilities because they said they wanted to work. So they want to work, but I can't because of these responsibilities.
You know, I gotta take a moment and just, give CAPRI the recognition it deserves, because I don't know if people understand how important this research is to every Jamaican, to a lot of the decisions we make, in a lot of ways in which we relate to each other. Because if you have young men who are saying, I don't want to work and I don't need to, there's a difference in the way you engage them, and it's very important to know how to change the behavior.
Yes.
Because we're going to be in trouble.
Right, because this may also be something that's cultural.
Yes.
And that change now is going to take a longer time than to...
Correct.
So even though Heart has a number of programs, they have
free
free of cost.
Free.
Not a dime.
But you see, if I don't want to work, you telling me that knowing that skill free doesn't make sense. So that's why I'm saying it's important to have the research to make certain types of decisions moving forward. Primary school and high school education, it's very important. It's not just the math and the English and the engineering, and it's the culture and the socialization. One of the things that you've raised as well.
Look at the graphic. The graphic is so stark. Like, look at the graphic.
Don't want work.
It's one thing when you tell us in a doc, but you see when the big navy blue section say,
But Simone, look,
we are not interested.
Want work, but care responsibilities 4%.
Right.
Want work, but other obstacles 2%. In school 20%.
Soon to join is what?
So these are persons who have made the decision that within the next 12 months, I'm going to be part of it. Right.
And so, and incapable would mean?
Either you're ill or maybe disabled, or there's some other reason why you're unable to work.
Retired. Some retired want work.
But some retired teachers have gone back into the
Right. So in our study, what we did, because of course 14 plus, I mean, my 101-year-old grandmother should not be included in that group.
Yes.
So we decided, and then also those below 18 really should be in school. So we decided to limit our study to those between 18 and 70. So we took it just above
65,
the right to include those who actually want to go back.
70s the new 50, I must tell you.
70s, yeah.
But I just want to say, if we look back at that graph a while ago, the 48%. No look.
Put it back up, foot.
No look so hot. Meaning 52 don't want to work. And when you look at the 48 and how the 48 is divided.
Well, the 23%, I mean, 23 and 6 comes to almost 30%, because we're assuming that those are potential.
Yeah,
right.
So what about now?
But that's still 30%. No, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
30 out of 100.
They don't want to work.
Like, that is below the field, like pass mark at 50. And if you get 30%. I mean, there's so much more to discuss, because one of the things that I think we are not engaging enough in is the aging population and what that means for us in terms of
CAPRI has
labor and jobs, work, types of work. So that CAPRI,
more work. They love work up there, though.
That's true.
Dr. King and his team. So what are the implications we should take away from this?
So one of the takeaways, because we focused on those with the care responsibility, is that we're suggesting that vouchers of some sort be given to those persons who actually want to work.
Yeah.
And that they can use it for care, whether it is at a daycare or some other care facility for the elderly, etc. And with that, though, they would have to use those vouchers at registered and regulated care facilities, which then means that we're also bringing that into the formal sector because there's a big informal sector on that.
Yeah.
So bring those persons into the labor force, but also formalize that sector, which would then also potentially bring others.
More jobs.
There you
Right.
go. Yes.
Okay, so that's
that's
one.
the main.
That's the main one.
That is. Yes.
I'm going to say in the same way we identified early childhood, and then we had the Early Childhood Commission, we did training, we have the points that the schools have to hit. We will, I don't know if we already have it, but we're going to have a senior care commission, the points that we have to hit, and the certification. Why we not have to wait for a scandal to do these things?
Also, the behavior change that Harris talks about, educated and informed by this data.
Every day.
Crucial. Great work. Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you to your team. You guys are always digging into the data and providing the research that can help us to move forward, and we appreciate you for it. Lead researcher and UWI lecturer, Dr. Kellyanne Dixon Hamill.
Yeah, after the break, we're celebrating a win with the Jamaican Canadian entrepreneur Kemisha Walters.